Welcome to Speaking Prowess. Are you ready to supercharge your communication skills and achieve unstoppable success? You're in the right place. Join Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, as he transforms leaders into powerful communicators. Joining Sifu is co-host Brigitte Hufele, a dynamic businesswoman, global speaker, an NLP master trainer, and the Skilled Center of NLP team. They will deliver unmatched expertise and energy to every episode. Prepare to unlock your full potential and make every conversation count. This is Speaking Prowess, where your journey to communication mastery begins.
Scott, happy Friday, my friend. How are you today?
Happy Friday. I am fabulous, and I am not Brigitte.
That is true. That is true. But guess what? You are fabulous.
Well, thank you. She is a great friend of both of ours, and we miss her dearly, but I'm honored to be joining you, my friend.
Yes, and thank you for co-hosting with me. You know, it's I know we don't like the word but you do know. So in this instance, it's true, right? Especially because this is communication mindset, also communication prowess. So a lot of times when a speaker says, it doesn't take the audience in the right place because the audience may not know. But in this instance, you do know. You do know our exceptional guest today. And let's go ahead and bring her on. Laura, how are you? Laura, I'm going to do what Scott suggested earlier and put you here because, Scott, would you tell us, even before Laura speaks, tell us what you said when you came on?
Yes, the rose between the thorns. I mean, exactly.
Love it, love it. Laura, how are you?
I am awesome. I am so awesome. I'm picking up $100 bills. It's a great day today.
Oof.
I thought
Just
normally you
hundreds?
just threw those down.
Doesn't matter. I still found them.
There you go. I love our topic today because it does lead to communication, right? When we think of money mindset and purposeful power, where does that work with communication, if you will? Laura, I'll let you begin.
Yeah, really communication's at the heart of everything. If I think about it, both verbal and nonverbal, right? And so we are powerful human beings. Sometimes we get trapped within our own minds and bodies. And so our whole world becomes ourselves. And that can affect our money mindset, our family, everything that's situational around us, and not in such a positive way. And when we realize that we are a certain way, we communicate a certain way, our values are a certain set of values, that not everybody else may have the same set of values, then that is the first point of where you actually start to take your power back. And have the ability to see beyond you and understand that just because what someone else has or the way they think about things is different, that's actually seen as a strength. And that gives you the opportunity as a human being to evolve. It all bleeds out into money mindset and what wealth means to you. It may be different from someone else. So how you communicate that to other people and to yourself is key about how you're going to be perceived in the world and how you're going to move forward in your life.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's really fascinating. And I think you said something very key there, how we all hold our own definition of wealth. So what would your definition of wealth be?
My definition of wealth, that's really interesting. It's grown over the years, right? And it's very different because I was very, as I grew up, I did not have a good money mindset. My mom, God rest her soul, gave me honey, money doesn't grow on trees, right? And so I had to realize that that was not how I thought about things. And so because my relationship about wealth was all about money as I was younger. I wasn't given the other pieces of that. Wealth could be family, it could be relationships, it could be how you interact with others on a daily basis, it could be spending time reading a book. That could be wealth for somebody, right? So for me, at a young age, wealth was go out and get it. I was a go-getter. So for me, that money was very attached with that. But I would work so hard, so hard, so hard and not make a lot of money, right? And so then I realized what was happening were these limiting beliefs. And so as I got older and I got rid of all these limiting beliefs and things started to come in and it connected more with my values, and I saw how other people valued money and that they didn't necessarily, money wasn't their number one thing about wealth. Then it gave me more perspective. I'm like, oh, maybe I need more relationships. Maybe that's just as or more important. Maybe EQ is more important. Maybe all these other things, as we grow as human beings. And some of us never have the opportunity to get there because we don't have the support we need to guide us there. So I was really lucky. I had a lot of crazy things happen in my life that allowed those things to happen. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. And Scott, congratulations. I know that you're training a new team on basically what we're talking about here. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
When you consider yourself, Scott, that you are teaching people about communication and money and how they show up, what's the one thing that really should resonate with the people you're teaching these, I'm going to call them habits, because when we create a habit, we grow, right? And it's got to be the right habit.
Well, I think it's the foundational belief. And it's funny you said, Laura, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, where does it grow? I mean, come on. Trees become paper. They get printed on. That's money. Come on. It does grow. But no, the reality is money is really just an exchange of value. And you've got to find people who are looking for the value that you deliver, and they give you a certificate of appreciation in exchange. That certificate of appreciation happens to be dollars, right? So again, if you don't look at it as this mysterious thing, but you really look at it as the exchange of value, and it comes down to the mindset and Sifu, some of the stuff that we've talked about over time. People make it way too hard, and in reality, it's about identifying challenges in somebody's situation and providing a solution that delivers the value they need for that challenge. And in exchange for that, that's where the money comes in. So money is not a bad thing. It's the intent behind it. That's why it's having an appropriate money mindset is a big part of that purposeful power that can take you into the marketplace and do some amazing things.
It reminds me of, if you've seen Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful. I love when he says, they're my little soldiers and I send them out and they have to capture other ones and bring them back. And I love that theory because it's when we hide money underneath our mattresses that we're stagnant with our money. When we don't want to invest in something because guess what? They may never come back. And so we have to think about money so differently, that it is energy. There is power in money. But if we don't give it the right belief, if we don't have the right attitude towards it, we're going to live in a place of scarcity, if you will, instead of abundance. So I love the fact of little soldiers.
Yeah, no, I like that, but it is called currency, which is foundational with current, right? It's designed to be in flow and moving from place to place. And for me, that's a big part of the wealth definition, is being able to do those things that are of service to yourself and others and go that way.
Laura, you talked about money doesn't grow on trees.
We're going to hold you to that one thing you said.
No. But how about rose bushes? Do they grow on rose bushes because you are the rose and we're the
Right.
so? But when we consider that, that's a mindset that so many people have used, and we're trying to change that dynamic, if you will. We're trying to have people think differently because the way my own kids grew up understanding money is because I taught them. No, but my parents didn't teach me anything about money.
Right.
Like yours said, it doesn't grow on trees. So I started teaching my kids about how to use money to get what they want and how to build a future. So I gave them the 4 principles that I believed when they were young, so they would get the idea. And I took them to the bank, and I said, at the time, the bank used to give out little piggy banks. It was TD Bank, and they give out the little C, right? It was Community Bank or whatever it was back then. And so I got them, both kids, both 4 piggy banks. And then in the same day, I opened up 4 different accounts for each one. One was 3 years old, the other one was 6. And I said, guys, we're opening up accounts. I'm putting money in each account, and you're going to get these passbooks. And the reason is because I wanted them to feel it. And then I wanted them to have the piggy banks, and I had them arts and crafts, if you will, stick things on it, draw, and all these different things. And then we labeled them. One was fun, because if you're a child, you have to have fun. The other one is investing. The other one was saving. And the other one, which a lot of people forget, is tithing. We need to give some of it back. Mm-hmm. And so my kids, of course, they were young. They wanted to put all the money in the fun one. And I said, no, we have to split it. You have 4. So if you get $1, a quarter goes into each one. And they would be excited when it would shake, or there would be bills in it. And I go, okay, guys, it's time to go to the bank. Let's go get them. And that has remained with them. So they understand the value of money, because one of my sons loves sports cars. He's got 3 different sports cars. And I said, Giovanni, what are you doing? He goes, Dad, don't worry. That's my fun money. I said, boom, right on. And so he understands. He also does stocks and trades. He's a day trader, but he's got 2 other things. And he already told me, Dad, I want to retire soon. I said, keep doing what you're doing. Because the mindset is there. He understands the principles of, you still have to invest, you still have to save, and you have to give some of it away. But he understands that his fun money is separate from the other 3. I just thought I'd share that with you guys as well. And anybody listening who has kids, go teach them the right principles of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so true. I mean, your kids are lucky. Most of us of this generation did not have, like you said, that guidance, right? And so when I would turn 18, my mom's like, oh, you should get a credit card to build your credit. That was it. So I went out and I bought a whole bunch of stuff I didn't need, and I racked up a ton of debt, right? And I couldn't pay it. And so that was my path for a very long time, because I never had more education than that. And that was a lot of people's paths, is what I'm noticing, but they're still holding it so much later in life, which is why a lot of people never really get ahead. Mm-hmm. And so shifting that mindset to, like, the money doesn't grow on trees. Well, I got a couple acres out back, and if you'd like a hayride through my acres of money trees, let me know, right? So, and to what you said, Scott, I mean, yeah, what is paper? Paper is money, right? So it's all good, right? So shifting your mindset. And I think that when I work with my clients on this, what we don't realize is that you have a million money conversations in your head a day. Like, you're making plans, you're thinking about bills and debt, and this is what the normal person is thinking about. And they're in survive mode. They are not in thrive mode. And so the goal is to get them out of there, for them to realize that money should be bringing joy, not, anxiety or or all these things, self-sabotage and all these things. It's like this horrible surprise party in your head you can't get away from, right? So create the party you want in your head, right? And so have a better feeling about money. But what you need to do is get rid of the limiting beliefs that your family, and a lot of the time I say family because it's the most common thing I see, or other people have told you. And there's I give people a 5-step system. I'm happy to give it to everyone here listening. The first thing when you have a limiting belief, especially about money, is you ask, is this true or is it real? Because it's probably been given to you by someone and it feels very real to you. And the second part is this mine? It's probably not, because you've just taken it on because your parents are there to educate you. They're doing the best job they can. They've given you their wisdom. So it's probably not yours, but you thought it was because it was a part of your learning. And then I ask the next question, which is, when did this start? And the last question is, what happened? And once we get to the source, then we can do a reframe or a rewrite of the script. And what that becomes is a new habit, a new consciousness or awareness around that habit. And all the other stuff seems to fall away. So that's kind of what I do, and it's been really effective for people.
I think
I love the source, right? Sorry, Scott. I love going after the source. Where's your thinking? Because that's your internal communication that's constant. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say I was writing those down because I think that they're so true. I mean, it's interesting, same thing. My parents never really had the money talk, right? Other than, Uncle Sammy's got a Cadillac. He's all highfalutin,
Right.
right? There wasn't a specific whatever, which is funny because at times in my life I've owned Cadillacs, right? Not because I'm highfalutin.
Right.
I just, I thought they were nice vehicles. But I think it's interesting when you say that, I think breaking sometimes even in trying to bust those limiting beliefs, the process becomes overcomplicated. But I think, is it true or real? Is money bad? No. If you buy food for a bunch of people who haven't eaten, money's not bad. So it's not true. It's not true or real that it is. Is it yours? Well, no. You want to do good. So I love the idea of recognizing and then doing something about it, right? Taking the action to break through and really understand that money is energy. Money is a vehicle. It's better to have more energy in a better vehicle than having less of it, right? But not for itself, but for the good that you can do, for the reach that you can have. At least my thought on it.
When we think about money and we think about power, if you look at Hollywood, Hollywood has shown people in power to be evil. And I know so many friends of mine who are extremely wealthy, and they're the kindest, most generous people I know. And it's because they understand that their money, one of the things that they know is they can't take it with them, right? No matter how much you accumulate, you still come into the same way. Well, not the same vehicle, if you will. You're not coming out your mom anymore. You're going to go out into either the ground or incinerator or wherever it is. But you can't take anything with you, right? So when we think about abundance, it has to be what happens when we're gone. How does that wealth that I've built help others? Think about what Bill Gates is going to be doing soon. He already talked about he's going to donate $92 billion or something in 20 years. or 10 years. But by that time, he would probably have double that anyway.
Yeah.
So he'll have more. So even if he donates everything he has today in 10, 20 years, he'll have the same or more. So think about the abundance that we are not looking at, because so many people are living paycheck to paycheck and they don't believe they're worth more. And I think the communication that we're having today is about there is energy in money, there is currency, if you will. But how do we build it? So how do we use that to have the right type of power so we can leave the world a better place? And that question is for both of you.
Well, I think that once you start to clear those things, what happens is that things start to actually start coming in. So what you're doing when you get rid of stuff that doesn't serve you is you start to create space for things that do. And so the question I would ask people is, what do you want to pull in? Because most of them can't get into their vision because they're stuck in the everyday. So a lot of the time what I'll say is, if you had unlimited money, what would be the 3 things you would do with that? Your bills are paid, your kids are taken care of, your investments are done, everything is done. And this is just for you. What would you do? And so that action, and they all know what it is. I never have to prompt them. I've never had somebody say nothing. And so, but you'll notice when they start speaking about it, their tone changes, they get excited, they're in a place of joy, actually, and that's not a place they've been for a while. So that, I think, is the first path to changing things on their level, which in turn will ripple out to a bigger level. So the more people we help do this, the bigger we can have and the better we can have for everyone, so that abundance comes in. And then, if they just keep clearing all this stuff out that doesn't serve them, then they're living in a happy place, and then they in turn can make the impact they're looking for. So I think it starts there, on a very personal level.
I think that's really interesting. What came to me intuitively when you were saying that, it's kind of like when you're writing a book. You don't write and edit at the same time. You brain dump, information comes out, the vacuum fills up. You brain dump, the vacuum fills up. And I mean, that's the imagery that I got as you were talking about that, is really taking those, because it's not hard to get conflicting messages about money, right? Warren Buffett gave away, this is many years ago, I think he at the time was worth $42 billion and gave away $40 billion.
Wow.
The next week he was worth $54 billion. I mean, literally, seriously. Once you have that money mindset and once you have the ability to accomplish it, you can never unlearn something.
That's correct.
Now, it might go back into the recesses a little bit. You might need to clear some clutter out of the way. But the reality is the reason that they talk about the uber wealth, they talk about giving it away because they know they'll get it again, because they're in that money mindset. And that was the picture that I was getting when you were saying that, Laura, is really coming back in and opening up and saying, wherever you are is wherever you are. If you don't like wherever you are, open your mind, dump out the junk, clean out the junk. If you need help, get somebody to help sweep it away for you, and go from there.
Let me share before you guys go on. MD has a question.
Sure.
May I know about your company and what you're discussing now? Well, MD, I'm going to tell you right now, across the bottom of the screen is Scott's information. Now I'm going to share Laura's information. And throughout the show, we're going to be sharing it. And believe it or not, I even have information. So you can join. I know, right?
Shocker.
And Scott and I are pretty, we're not that savvy, so we just use our name with .com at the end. So we're pretty good. Laura, on the other hand, is you can have a conversation with Laura about exactly what we're talking about. So this is why, thank you for that question, by the way, MD, because this is one of the powers of being on a show like this is that we can connect with people we may never have. So thank you for the question. Great question.
Okay, I'm trying to remember what I was saying.
Yes.
Right, okay,
Well,
okay, I got it.
I
got
thought it was brilliant. So continue.
So, uh, so to what Scott was just saying, I think that it's all connected, like you said about the 1%. Like, what is our level of deserve? And I was just talking to this when I was just doing a speaking engagement, and we are talking about what is your level of deserve, and people would put down a number, financial number that they thought they deserved, and it was so much lower. Like when I looked at it, like it was perfect for them, and I'm like, and then my question would be, why is that your level?
Yeah.
And people's perception about what they deserved as money told me everything I needed to know about their money mindset. So the 1%, they know they deserve it. I deserve it. You deserve it. We all deserve it. And I deserve massive amounts of money because I can create massive change with that. Right. And so it's just getting into that headspace. And like you said, it's dumping out all that stuff, getting rid of it, getting someone to help you do it. Because a lot of the time we can't do it ourselves because we're unaware of what it is until someone brings it to the surface. Someone or something brings it to the surface. Right. And so the level of deserve can change drastically once you shift your money mindset.
Well, it totally. And again, with just the image that popped up is the rear view mirror and the side mirrors on a car.
Mhm.
You're looking out the windshield. Why do you have mirrors?
Right.
Because you can't see the blind spots without them. Well, the reality is none of us are wearing mirrors. We're typically not able to see our own blind spots, which is why you have great friends and you have shows like this that can share pieces of information to at least create critical thinking, right?
Mm.
Be able to think about it and go, huh, that's another take on that. And that's why I love the things that you gave earlier, because they're simple. They're not necessarily easy. You kind of need somebody to help you through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really all about the awareness of what's gone on. Like when I was younger, I had massive trauma as a child and in my
Mm.
teenage young adult years. But that never surfaced till I was in my early 40s. Like we
Mm.
are designed to protect ourselves, to survive. That's what our caveman brain does. But when those things feel safe enough to come to the surface, we need to be able to get rid of them at whatever age that happens, if there is any trauma or whatever. And so having the support you need and is critical, because I feel like people's number one reason that they can't move is they don't feel supported in a way or have the tools or strategies they need to move forward. And that's why what I do and what you do and what we all do is so important, because we're there for people. And that's the number one thing.
When we are trying to educate anyone about money, and you kind of talked on it earlier, we have to first go to the source. What's their belief about money? How do they see money? How do they see money in their life? How does money help them see their future? So when we are helping somebody understand about money, how do we get them to get rid of those beliefs?
Come
Okay,
on,
Scott.
Laura. You
Oh,
got
is it
no, you
me?
got
Okay,
the
it's
answer.
me. All right. So a lot of the time for me when I'm working with clients, it's the questions. So when I talk with someone, I take them through this process where we go through the present, what's currently going on in their life, and then we go into the future vision that I talked about, like how to get them there. That's the energy where I want them to stay.
Yeah.
And then I bring them into the past. It's called future casting. And I start to ask questions like, if you don't make this change now, what will happen? What was the thing that's holding you back from making, like all these things? It's almost this process of self-discovery that they go through, so that they can find the answer themselves. I'm just kind of guiding them to it. And then also calling bullshit on it when they're trying to dance around it. I did this yesterday. And they looked at me, they're like, they didn't even get mad. They were like, oh, God, okay, this is what really happened. Right. And I'm like, look, I'm not attached to any of it. Right. I'm just here to support and give you what you need. And so by the end of the conversation, it's again the big listening, which is what most people don't have it also, as well as the support. They don't have someone who will actually really listen to them. And allowing them to have this moment of self-discovery where they're like, I need this. I need help. This was what was limiting me. And they didn't even realize it most of the time. So for me, it's more of a conversation. And then I do tap into source. So that gives me some edge over other things as well. So I'll know if they're pulling one over on me, or, I mean, hey, if you want to tell yourself the lie for the rest of your life, I'm good with that. I'm not attached to that.
How's that going to work for you?
Right. Yeah. If you want to move and you actually want to shift, right? Because I mean, we all know, like John Maxwell's 4 levels of wealth, right? It's money, relationships, knowledge, and purpose. And if you can have the other 3 levels good, but if your money level isn't good, you got to go back and fix that. Because then all the other levels get so much better, right? And so the majority of people do not have a good money mindset, and as it's not really their fault. That's the other thing people need to discover. It's not their fault, right? And so how can we help them own their power and take it back from others? And that's really what the whole basis of this conversation is about. Live in your power.
Yeah, I think there's one of the greatest tragedies is, Sifu, when did you take Financial Responsibility 101? Did you actually take that course in school?
Yes, I think it was in kindergarten when they would come around, and
I don't know what school you two are going. We didn't have.
I had to have 10 cents to buy that snack that the lady with the cart used to come by with, and I would make sure, man, I needed that snack. So I did everything I could to have that nickel or that however it was. And if you didn't have that nickel, she would come by, take the nickel. Whoever didn't have it, get nothing.
Yeah.
So right away, I was like, oof, that's a powerful lesson. I will always have that nickel if I want that snack.
That's exactly it. Well, I think that's the tragedy, is the lack of financial literacy to at any level, quite frankly, that we're not teaching it to our kids. We're not teaching it at foundational levels. We're not teaching, I went, I don't know, I bought something, I think at the grocery store the other day, and I, gave them $11 and it was 10 and some change. And to watch them work to make change was
so scary.
It was almost painful. Right. And I mean, that's a failure on society to say, hey, we need to be teaching people at a much younger age. It's great to teach people how to exchange value and therefore earn remuneration. It's a whole different thing that we haven't taught them what to do with it, or how to manage it, or whatever. And that's on. I know it's. Again, what just came to me is I remember being in business school and having to take cost accounting, and I did not understand it for nothing. And I was like, this is the dumbest course ever, and oh my goodness, until I ran a division for a company, and it made all the sense in the world because of the practical application of it. And I think there's so little of that in helping kids understand financial literacy, and then actually walking them through that through the years for them to understand, wow, all these different, and trust me, I made plenty of mistakes. This is not a judgment thing. This is an easy fix. You don't have to be even a good consultant to fix this one. Let's start teaching financial literacy at a younger age.
But one of the things that I believe is that our health is important. So that's why I want to share this with you guys. Take a look.
Yep.
You followed the rules. tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind-Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today. So I believe that if we don't have a good health, we're going to actually take all that wealth and we're going to give it to the wrong people. We're going to leave not a legacy for our children. We're going to leave strangers without money. And those strangers in the medical profession, because we got to pay all those medical bills. So take care of your health so that your wealth is distributed to the correct people, right? Thoughts?
Well, it's all connected together because Sifu's mind-body mindset is really about mindset, and I think that's what, a money mindset, creating purposeful power, I think is a big part of it as well. There's not one aspect of mindset. It's across the board in all areas of life, financial, obviously physical as well.
Yeah, well, I have 3 world titles, as you already know. Maybe the audience doesn't know, in full contact weapons fighting. And when I was competing, this is exactly what we had to do, because as you know, professional athletes, when you compete, it's about a 9-month ramp up to those 2 days of competition. Okay. But you have to have your mindset right, your diet, your exercise, you have to have that perseverance to train every day, to push your body through things you didn't think you could do. And so it's exactly what you were just both talking about, right? So it's the same thing. It's all connected. And all of that is transferable to wealth. It's transferable to business. And it's transferable to all the other aspects of your life. It's just a matter of you stepping into it and making a choice. That's the one thing it comes down to. Because if you don't choose change, then nothing will change.
Talking about change,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm going to finish your thought. I'm going to come back.
I was just going to say, I tell my clients, if you're not ready to move, don't work with me. Because I want to move you. Like, that's the thing. I want you to move. Right?
Yeah.
That's all I got on that.
So let me talk about change. I don't like change in my pocket. and that's one of my things. And I taught my kids that, because that way you take the change out of your pocket every time you come home and you put it in the right place, right? So that's money that you don't think of it, you just put it. And so for people who are having trouble and saying, I can't afford that, you take that change, eventually you can afford something, because that change is going to accumulate. So that's one of the principles I taught my kids, is take whatever loose change you have and put it somewhere. And then eventually you take that change, you take it to the bank, and you make good money on it. Or it's already your money, you're not making money on it, but now you can invest it. And I love some of the apps that are out there now that they say, if you put it on your credit card, they'll round it up, right? So think about thinking of that mindset of, or sometimes they'll ask you, you want to donate the rest of, if it's 19 cents, $9.19, do you want to round up the rest of it and donate it? Yeah, sure. Or you want to put it towards your savings, or put it towards, and it's automatically done for you, so you don't have to think about it. So think about the technology, how it's helping us with our purpose, our power, our mindset. And if you don't have the technology, do what I do. I don't like changing my pockets, because it's going to weigh me down. I go somewhere. I was somewhere, and it was I think it was 39 and 1 penny. And I was like, oh man, I don't have a penny. You believe the girl said to me, no problem. I thought, oh, she's going to take care of the penny. No, she gave me 99 cents. And I said, oh, great. 99 cents. I know where that's going to go. It's going to go in my pocket. And I don't want it there. I'm going to go home and throw it in, the piggy banks or whatever. Because instead of giving me the penny, she said, nope, I got to follow the rules. Right. And you go so many places and they'll have a little thing that people need a penny or 5 cents or whatever, and they'll give that to you. With that in mind, should we round everything up and get rid of change entirely?
I think money is money, like however it shows up. So it doesn't really matter. How you deal with money is really the key, right? And so everyone has different values. Money is important to them in a different way. Some people, all they do is go after it, right? They love it so much. Some people, their currency is more like in people than money. They struggle more. Someone is, more about like, I need all the information before I can make a decision about money. Or else they go into analysis paralysis, right? Like, and then they're stuck. So we all have our sticking points, right? And so recognizing the sticking points so that we can move past it, no matter what the money shows up as, is the key. I think here is the bigger issue. Yeah.
Love it.
I think
is money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thought, but the reality is that, percentages, and that's like saying then we can only use a certain percent. We only need to go in 5% increments. We don't need those other numbers in between. I mean, the reality is what it is. Now, could we, if it costs more to produce than its value, that doesn't make sense. But some of the other, but I'm the same way with change. We've got a big old vase. It's surprising how much gets thrown in there and how much it adds up over time, and then you can have that little fun money, right?
Yeah.
That used to be like that. Very true.
I have in one of my little things that just from change, I think for the last year, I had almost $900 in change.
Yikes.
Yeah. But I said, hey, you know what? Invest it. Who cares? Even if I lose it, who cares? Because my thought on money is that my little soldiers are going to go out. They're going to come back. They're going to capture some others. And that's why I invest. And when we think about money as something that we learn to understand, it's great. But when we think about purpose, I think for me, that stands a little bit higher, because I can't have my purpose without the funding, right? So the fun is in the ding, right? Funding. And I have to fund my purpose. And my purpose is to impact more people. And the more I can do that, the vehicle that's going to help me do that is money. So we do have a great relationship, and I can't get rid of her.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, because I think, I always ask people, if money was your lover, what would it say to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would you be like having arguments all the time? Would they be running out saying you're a loser? This is never going to work. You suck, right? You don't listen to me, right? All the things that we have in our relationships. Or would it be like, I want us to be the biggest power couple going. I want us to depend on each other, support each other, because I know we can make a difference. So if you ask someone that, it will be it will tell you everything they know about how they feel about money. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Is money is just another relationship in your life.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do you embrace it or repel it? If you're not embracing it well, if you're not treating it with respect and honor and dignity and all the different things that you should,
Yeah.
wow, this is like I'm talking to me right now. This is just not feeling great. Just telling you, thinking about periods in my life where, but I mean, I think that's the beauty of shows like this. They get you to think, right?
Yeah.
It becomes thought provoking, and I love the idea, both of you said, that you have to have this relationship criteria established with money. But the other side of it is one of those pieces of the relationship is if you really want the warm feeling in your heart that comes from achieving your purpose, it takes funding to do that. There ain't no free lunch. Somebody's got to pay for that lunch. If you want to donate a bunch of lunches, somebody's got to pay for those lunches.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like when you get to a place where you've made a lot of money, there's always going to be more to clear, right? So for me, I work a lot with high achievers. It's a different mindset. First of all, none of them are going to tell you there's a problem. Right?
That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's a different set of questions and a different conversation. The values are the same depending on the person, but how they perceive themselves is very different because they're owning their value more, but they still know there's something holding them back. And it's only one of three things: more time, more money, better relationships, family, whatever that is, right? Or health. And so once you direct the questions that way, you're going to find where the gap is. And then the conversation can proceed. But it would never start with like, tell me what you're struggling with. No one is ever going to say that at a high achieving level. I don't struggle with anything. I've done this, right? Like, so if you're really scaling, like it's going to be a different conversation at a higher level. And especially when you were just talking to Warren Buffett a bit before, like, that guy never thinks about that stuff. Like he's thinking about the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. And so getting people to the bigger picture instead of in their minutia of the survival of making enough money to get by, it's a very different conversation. Yeah, I find that fascinating.
One of the things that people struggle with is accepting money.
Yeah.
And some of my salespeople have had that. And I said, whoa, stop. Because they're like, oh, they wanted to pay me, but they didn't have the right. I'm like, wait, stop right there. They wanted to pay you, and you didn't take the money?
Right.
Where's the problem here?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We accept all kinds of payment: cash, checks, credit cards. What credit card? Any credit card. Right. And there's so many people that I've helped in the past that, we don't take American Express because their fees are so high. I said, so somebody walks in here, wants to give you a ton of money, but they only have an American Express. You're going to tell them, sorry, we don't take your money. It's not good. So we have to learn and teach everybody that money is something we should take. And the minute somebody wants to offer it, don't be quiet. Right. And Scott, you teach salespeople all the time. Be quiet. Take the money. Show me the money, people. Right.
Yeah.
Because
again,
that's so important.
Another great lesson is, and I won't name drop, but I was at lunch with extremely well-known speaker, and somebody offered to pay for lunch to cover the lunch for everybody. And I think they did it because they thought the person would say, no, I got this, whatever. Right. Well, they didn't do that. They let them pay. And the person, after making the offer and paying for everything, turned to me and said, can you believe they actually accepted, my offer to pay for lunch? And I said, would you like to know why? And they went, you know the answer? And I said, yeah, I've actually had this conversation with them before. And he said, what's the answer? He said, why would I deny you the pleasure of being grateful And so I respectfully accept.
Gosh, I love that.
Well, it was. Well, like I said, I've learned a lot of. One of the cool things about sharing the stage with a lot of really cool people is you learn a lot of lessons not on stage, or not from what's said on stage. It's from having lunch with them. It's being back in the green room. It's hanging and learning the lessons, right? And he said, I would never deny you the pleasure of you giving me a gift. He said, if I would say no to you, I've said no to you. And I don't want you to feel that.
Right.
And it was such a valuable lesson to say, it's okay to accept if somebody wants to take care of you, even though you have a higher thing. One of the tips that I teach is take a millionaire to lunch. Why? He's got to eat anyway. He or she has to eat anyway. And almost nobody ever buys their meal. It will differentiate you from somebody. And you have a period of time, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour of uninterrupted time with a millionaire. You couldn't get that for the price of a lunch.
Yeah, I love that.
Great advice. Great advice.
Want to just add one thing?
Go add one thing, and then we're going to end it.
Okay, we're going to end it. To what exactly Scott said, if your level of receive is not the same as your level of give, things cannot move for you. Right? And so just exactly what you said, Scott, absolutely 100%. So make sure when you're out there that you're receiving as much as you're giving, and sometimes that's way harder. So just keep that in mind, everyone. Thank you.
As a giver, I've learned that receiving is as important, because I love giving, right? And by the way, what a great show today. Thank you both, Scott. You always know how to step in there and hold on to the reins. I love it, my friend. You're an incredible human being. Laura, what I'd love for you now is we're going to put your website across. Tell us what somebody can expect to find when they come to you. You have about 45 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. So I love human beings. I am a money mindset and wealth mastery strategist. So I help people to develop at a high achieving level, a more positive and powerful relationship with money so that they earn the level they deserve and elevate their revenue fast so that they can scale their wealth, however that looks to them. You can reach me at talkwithlaura.com. Book a half hour with me. I'd love to hear more about you. And I'd like to offer you my free Wealth Mindset Reboot Assessment at wealthmindset.vip.
Love it. Thank you so much. And Scott, my friend.
It's just always an honor to share with anybody. And yes, classically, I'm a sales guy and a sales trainer. But the good news is everything in life is a sale. Every conversation you have is, you might not frame it that way right now, but we'll take care of that. Because it's really about helping you understand that if you want to communicate a message and get a response, that's all part of the process. And so I work to understand where you are, where you want to go. And we work to get you there. It's pretty simple. Scott at scottschilling.com or scottschilling.com. I don't hide well.
And I'm Sifu Rafael. And by the way, I would love to help you with your health. And think about the three people on this panel. If I was looking from outside, I would say, wow, one guy's going to help me with my health. Another one's going to help me with sales. Another one's going to help me manage my health, my wealth, and my health, right? What a great trio. Look at this. Great people here. Do us a favor. Connect with all of us. We'd love to be able to help you wherever you are in your journey. Thank you, everybody. What a great show. Share this with everybody. Somebody needs to hear today's message. God bless you, everybody. Take care. You guys, if you can hang out. Everybody else, have yourself an exceptional rest of your day. Take care.
This is Speaking Prowess.